Welcome to Inspiring Salon Professionals, the podcast that allows every therapist, nail tech and stylist to level up, build their career and reach for their dreams. Each episode will be looking at a different area of the industry, and along the way I'll be chatting with salon owners, industry leaders and experts who'll be sharing their stories on how they achieved their goals, made their successes, all to inspire you in your business and career. I'm Sue Davies, your host, award-winning salon owner and industry professional. Welcome to Inspiring Salon Professionals. Hi there, and welcome to this week's Inspiring Salon Professionals. We're having a slight change of what I was planning to do because yesterday something happened in the nail industry specifically that I felt was so important because it's something I've been involved in trying to spread awareness on for years and years and years, and was part of one of the big reasons that I was part of the Federation of Nail Professionals for so long, was because we were trying to get this kind of message out to the consumers. And yesterday on BBC News, a big story broke that was partly led by SUZANNE CLAYTON, as well as the Federation of Nail Professionals. And SUZANNE has been campaigning really as part of her nail tech awareness group and wider industry, and trying to get to the consumers. She's been campaigning on this for probably about 4 to 5 years now. And so I got in touch with her last night and just said, look, you know, I've got an episode due out on Monday. I think that we could perhaps have a little chat. So we are having a chat. She goes on holiday on Monday. So we're sort of trying to squeeze it in between everything else. So I've had to come out to my caravan because I've got loads of stuff going on in my house today. So I'm sitting in my caravan and I will be joined very shortly by SUZANNE. But just as a quick heads up, this whole situation around gel allergy has been there for a long time. Allergy to acrylates has been there for a long time. This predates gel polish. It goes, and it can be, anyone can be allergic to anything. But the difference is here that with gel polish, if applied incorrectly, if it has too strong a chemical factor in it that we'll discuss within the interview with SUZANNE, risk of allergy is raised hugely. And this is where the problem lies. DIY kits, people trying to do things on the cheap and buying cheap products, not understanding the chemistry behind it. And there's so much to unpack. So I'm going to just wanted to give you a little bit of an intro about what to expect during the interview. We won't be naming and shaming any brands because that's not what we're about. And SUZANNE and I go back a really long way, and hopefully we're going to have a really honest, open conversation and try and get this, because obviously it's in the BBC News and all of that kind of stuff, it's sound bites. SUZANNE would have probably recorded a half an hour to 45-minute interview with the BBC, and they will have shown maybe 2 or 3 minutes of it at a push over the course of a news broadcast. Probably not even that, maybe even 30 seconds. So today is an opportunity for SUZANNE to be able to be heard and for the Federation's view to be heard. And I really want to make sure that this message gets out, because there's a lot of very scared technicians out there. There's also a lot of very scared consumers that, although the information given yesterday was fairly balanced and wasn't scaremongering in the way that historically the media has done when it comes to nail stories, but I want there to be a documented fact or factual recording of what SUZANNE needs to get out there. And this podcast obviously is open to the public, so consumers can find it, professionals can find it, and we will keep it as easy to understand as possible. But this is a really serious issue that faces our industry, and I cannot impress upon everybody who uses any UV gel product how important it is to pay attention and understand. And if you do not understand, go and find someone who can teach you. I'm going to put loads of links into the show notes for this, because there's lots of places that you can find that information. So I will be sharing lots of different stuff about who you can go to, what courses you can take, and so on, that will help you to understand the risks associated with using gel polish and with using certain types of gel polish or gel products. So that's that for me. That's just a little intro just to warm us up into the interview. And I will be joined by SUZANNE very shortly. So I'm going to pass over to the interview now and see you on the other side. Well, here we are, and welcome to SUZANNE. As I was just saying in the intro, I've asked SUZANNE on today so we can have a really good conversation around gel allergies and the Pandora's box that was opened by the BBC yesterday. So Suzanne, if for those who don't know you, hopefully a lot of people do know you, but for those who don't, would you mind just giving us a little bit about your back history and maybe a little bit about NTA and how you got to where you are?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me firstly. It's a pleasure to be here. So yeah, the story obviously went into the press yesterday. So I'm Suzanne CLAYTON. I've been a nail tech for over 20 years. I've had high street salons, home salons, educated, done all sorts of crazy stuff as well, fashion shows, photo shoots and all sorts of stuff. 4 years ago, I had some clients react to some products I was using, and I'd never seen anything like it before. Now, to be in the industry for 20 years at that point and never have seen anything, and it's not just that I hadn't come across it as in personal clients, it's I hadn't come across it with anyone else that I knew in the industry. And at that point, I had about 2,000 texts on my personal social media. So, you know, knew a few people, I'd done loads of courses, so I'd made loads of friends. All of a sudden, there were 12 of us who had had 53 reactions between us. Wow, and we couldn't post. It was a lot. You know, I'd never seen anything like it. Started to question what, you know, what we've all been using, what we've been doing, and we'd all been using 2 brands, basically, to cut long story short. Obviously won't be mentioning those brands, but that was the common denominator. So there was nowhere that we could get together and talk about it, because on social media, every time we tried to mention it in another group, you know, the comments were deleted. I was even removed from a group for mentioning. So I decided to create, that's how Nail Tech Awareness came about. It was like, we need a platform that's non-brand led, because as you know, most of the Facebook groups for nail techs are all run by the brands that they use.
Absolutely. Well,
sometimes we might all use different brands, or you might use one brand of nail art with the brand of gel polish you're using. So that's 2 brands. So I thought it was a good way for techs to come together and have somewhere that they could share whatever they needed to share, whether it was reactions or something to do with their business. And it was techs from all different brands that could come together. 3 days later, we had 700 members, and I was like, what on earth is happening? It was a much bigger problem than I realized. Lots of techs were coming forward saying that they'd had reactions, they'd never seen anything like it before. Because it wasn't, we've seen I can never pronounce it, oncoliosis before, which is obviously the whitening, the lifting. We've seen that before. You know, that's been for the whole time you and I have been nail techs, we've known about it. But this was the through trauma. And this was the crustiness underneath, the splinter hemorrhages, the bruising, the discoloration. It was just a very different thing that we were looking at, which is why we didn't really know how to deal with it at the beginning. And why experts took so long to realize exactly what was happening and why it was happening and stuff, because even they hadn't seen it before. So that's where Nail Tech Awareness came about, and now we're at nearly 38,000 members, I think.
Wow. I know, because I was thinking, I know it's over 30,000. I meant to go and check before we started this morning just to see how many, but it is a lot. And also, but that thickening of the nail underneath, just so we keep our terminology there and do the right thing. So we've got onycholosis is the white is like the separation when it looks like your nail free edge is moving down your nail, and then you get hyperkeratosis. Me and my big words. Hyperkeratosis, which is the swelling of the tissues underneath the nail. And it's uncomfortable, and you get itching and the peeling skin as well around that looks a bit like eczema around the edge of the, like on the soft tissues.
Well, this is it, and it's because it's not just about unsightly nails. You know, we've had nail techs that have had, you know, nasal problems, breathing problems. I mean, I had one tech that messaged because she was in hospital, she couldn't see because her eyes had all swelled up. You know, there's been all sorts of crazy things kind of happening, and just things that we just hadn't seen before. And not that we just hadn't seen them, we hadn't seen anything like it on the scale. And
let's face it, there'd been, you know, gel polish has been around in one form or another probably since about 2009, I think, was the first release of any kind of brush on gel that was cured in a light. Well, there was products before that as well, because I can remember a couple of products way before that, but in a colored format that looked like polish. That was probably about 2009, wasn't it? And up until about 4 or 5 years ago, nobody had seen any reaction to those products. And there was a change. People wanted different things out of gel, and maybe there was some a few brands that took things in a different direction, perhaps, is the
Yeah,
way.
because we've had so many new products come, you
Yeah.
know, and like, you know, I know that we've said before, and it is a topic of discussion in the industry. You've got so many people using products that they're not qualified to use.
Yeah,
We've got builder gels
yeah,
where you've had nail techs who are only qualified in gel polish, which means
yeah,
we're brushing on to the
yeah,
nail plate. We're not building an apex, we're not building any structure,
right,
that are buying builder gels and building with them, but they're not qualified to do so.
no,
You know, so I'm not blaming techs, because I do believe that it's ingredients and products that are at the root of, you know, the allergy problems that we've been having. But then when you start adding on how thick people are applying, not, you
yeah,
know, not curing things in the correct lamps. You know, you and I both know, we look into the chemistry and the science behind
yeah.
everything. Not, there's not one lamp that cures all, you know,
If
and
only the magic
it's,
lamp.
I know, can you imagine the magic
Well,
that would
there was a
happen if we
magic
could
lamp,
just,
wasn't there? It was called UV before LED
it,
UV came out.
this is it. I loved UV lamps. I
Yeah.
I was probably the last person in the industry to come to LED
And
lamps,
I don't
because
know.
I
I
loved
think
my
I think
UV.
when I sold my salon not last year, 2 years ago, when I sold my salon, I think my last UV lamps went with the salon. I haven't got them anymore.
Yeah, I loved UV, and I still
It's so
do.
good.
I honestly
Yeah,
wish we could go back to them. I do love LED and the quickness, but I do sometimes worry that people are applying it too thick.
that's it.
And you know, we both know that you can look at gel and it looks cured, but you
Yeah,
don't know that it's fully cured all the way through.
no, absolutely
You
not.
know,
Cooks from the inside out, and that outer layer is always going to stay tacky, and you never know.
yeah, and I
Really
think
don't
half
know.
of the problem in the industry is the fact that the allergic reactions that we're currently seeing, and to the scale that we're currently seeing them, aren't just down to like one ingredient.
No.
If it was that easy and we could just say to people avoid XYZ, we'd have done that 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah,
That's not the case. It's a complex situation and a whole combination of things.
yeah,
And I think as nail techs, it's our duty of care to our
yeah,
clients' nail health to keep educating ourselves, to make sure we're using a system as a complete system, we're curing it in the correct lamp. We've had
yeah,
training in the products that we're using.
yeah.
You know, we're not just, and obviously insurance in the products that we're using and the way that we're using
Yeah.
them.
Manufacturer's
That's a whole,
instructions.
yeah, you know, there's such a, I think you and I think as nail techs, we make it look too easy.
Yeah,
And for other people, especially now that social media is as big as it is, you scroll through Instagram. You know, I scroll through it every day. Social media is part of my job. I scroll through Instagram and I see all these videos popping up of what people are demoing, and I do feel like we make it look too easy.
yeah.
For
Because let's face
example,
it, it's just painting nails. And I think that's what people think it is, especially because that's what gel
absolutely,
polish makes it look like.
yeah. I had a client, not a client of mine, somebody contacted me this morning, obviously after the BBC, my name is out there, so all sorts of people are contacting me. Had somebody contact me and she had used an at-home kit, which is a whole different subject.
Yeah,
There's two different types of allergic reactions, from using a home kit and from using professional products and having a reaction. So maybe we should make that clear, that there's two
yeah.
different things going on. I think maybe that got a bit cross-wired in the
Is
press yesterday.
and I think, you know, and this is why I wanted to do this today, is because on the BBC or any news channel, wherever media picks it up, they have got a very limited window that they can get a
Yeah,
message across. And
yeah,
sometimes it's out of context. And we
yeah,
wanted to make sure, or I wanted to make sure, that there's proper contextual information out there where you can listen to the whole of why this is a
yeah,
problem.
yeah, exactly. And that's, so this lady contacted me this morning and she's been using a home kit, had a reaction, very severe reaction, and the medical implications to her now. She's having to have kidney function tests and all sorts of stuff on
Wow.
a regular basis. And she wanted to know why it had happened. So I broke it down for her and explained. And one of the things I said was, this is why, as trained professionals, we learn the science and the chemistry behind the products, because we need to know that we're curing those products in the correct lamp. I'm going to keep saying that because it's an
Yep.
important part of what we're talking about. Each lamp has a different wavelength that it cures at. Each product has a different amount of photoinitiators in it, so that they need to be cured differently. There's just not a one size fits all. It would be so good if it was, like we said, but So I had to break it down and explain to her that, you know, we do make it look too easy, and that it's such a more complex thing. You know, and I know it's very easy for us to say because we are trained professionals, and you and I have both done goodness knows how many certificates between us and training. But it is key to using, you're putting, at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, we're putting chemicals on the body.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go to a doctor that hadn't been trained to inject you with something. Now, I know injection and breaking the skin is very different to what we do, but we're still using a chemical.
It is, and there's still absorption, you know, and it may not be injected through, you know, a mechanical means, but absorption is a real thing. And if you get product on the skin, that is an element of that could absorb through into the lower layers of your dermis, and then that can get into your system, and it can then travel around your body. That's you know, the basics of absorption and body, you know, your circulatory system.
And this is part of obviously how the allergic reactions are coming about, because the products aren't curing properly. Like we said, you can't look at a gel product on the nails and say that that's fully cured. Your naked eye cannot see that possibly. If a product is sitting on the nail that hasn't been fully cured all the way through, it will leach out onto the nail plate, which will cause an allergic reaction. That can be because it was applied too thick, not cured in the correct lamp. It can be that there's too many acrylates in that product to start with. It can be that there's extra ingredients that shouldn't be in that product. Like we said, it's a whole combination of things. But the implications for somebody medically for the rest of their lives, you know, I've said it before, diabetic patches, they use the same adhesive ingredients, plasters, hip replacements, knee replacements. Somebody said yesterday cataracts.
Dental,
you know,
work,
dental
anything,
treatment,
you know, like, and it isn't like the, you know, the fillings that you have that are cured with the blue, like with the UV light in there, you know, that kind of thing can become quite challenging.
I mean, can you imagine if you were in serious dental pain and you couldn't have treatment because you've had a reaction to your nail products? Like, for me, I just think having dental pain is one of the worst things in the world, because you can't get away from it. You know, like you just can't. You can't sleep, you can't breathe, you can't eat. It's, you know, so I wouldn't want to put anybody at risk.
And I just want to go back as well, Suzanne, about the builder gels that have become, and the base products that are part of that whole it's a trend. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a trend. You know, everything in the nail industry goes through fads and trends, and over the last few years there's been a huge movement towards builders and rubber bases and all that kind of stuff, but there's a huge amount of texts out there that use it. And like you were saying, these are just available from many providers and many suppliers, and they can be sold by some suppliers with no further education supplied. And I think that we need to maybe impress upon the professional community that if you are using those products and you have never been trained, that maybe now's the time that you go and seek a new education. Because they are they are fundamentally like a nail overlay. That's what they are. They're not part of the gel polish system as gel polish originally was invented. They are something that is part of the traditional UV gel product range that's now been kind of aligned with gel polish, and it is different. The application is different, the chemistry is different, everything about them is different to gel polish. There's a lot of similarity between the products, and the chemistry makeup is similar, but it is a very, very different technique. And
it is a different technique, because, you know, with a builder gel, you can build an apex, you can extend the nail plate, you can do sculptures, you can do tips. If all you've been trained in is gel polish, then you do need to go on some training, because you won't have been trained to tip or sculpt or build an apex. You won't know where your structure should be. You won't know how to infill. You know, we've seen it in Nail Tech Awareness where people are asking questions about how to infill. Well, you know, if you're asking a question about refining your skill, that's one thing. But if you're asking a question about how to do it step by step, then you need to go on some more training. You know, I've done, I don't know, 40, 50 courses at this point. I've just been on 3 international educator trainings. I'm learning something every single time. It's blowing my mind how much information I'm using. Yes, I'm extra inquisitive. Yes, I want to know the science behind everything. You know, I'm asking the scientific experts of brands, you know, technical questions, because I'm curious, because of the way the allergic reactions have gone, because of what I see on social media, you know, whether it's through Instagram scrolling through, or whether it's the questions in Nail Tech Awareness that people are asking, it piques my interest and I want to be able to answer those questions. But yeah, we do need, I don't know why, when I know it was for you as well, when I first came into this industry, it was all about learning and training. It was about furthering your education, furthering your knowledge, expanding your techniques that you know, because applying a tip and applying a sculpt are completely different things.
I can remember
And quite often,
I remember the first time I tried to do a pink and white. Wow.
well, you
But
know, we've all
acrylics
got
changed so
things.
much since then, hasn't it? I mean, I trained in 2002, and it was, and everything I did like in pink and whites just looked like I'd just picked up some cement and thrown it on a nail. I mean, it was horrendous.
What we were doing back then. However, we knew that we had to keep pushing ourselves and going on more and more education. That was part and parcel of being an nail tech, you know. And it was like, you know, whatever qualification you did, you were like, right, what can I do next? What's next? How can I further my skills, and how can I further my knowledge? Whereas these days, the industry that I see today is not the industry I came into 20 odd years ago, because everyone seems to want cheap products, cheap training, you know, the quickest form of doing something. Whereas 20 years ago, we were having to do VTCT qualifications, MVQs. You know, there's not so much of that about. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with 1 and 2 day courses. You can learn a lot from the right educator and the right training environment, but you should always be furthering your skills. I don't ever feel you should leave one course and think, right, that's it, I know everything there is to know about gel. I'm not doing another course.
If only. It was, I mean, like, my first course was it wasn't great. I did a 2-day course. Oh dear, apparently I was amazing, but I
think we were
and at
all
the time I believed her.
When there was no camera phones around, we were all amazing. Let's face it.
But I did that course, and I think, you know, because it fitted in with my kids, and you know, and there was a whole raft of reasons why I chose that course. There was cost, there was the dates and the times, and whether I had childcare, and there was so much involved in it. And I know that's still a massive issue for so many women or men or whoever's coming into the industry. It has to fit in with your lifestyle while you're doing what you normally do. Most people come into this industry as another career, and but I realized fairly quickly that I didn't know enough, and that I was given a sheet of A4 paper with all my anatomy and physiology on. That sheet of paper had been photocopied about 1,000 times. It was all off kilter, and, you know, I mean, really, really poor. And that was my anatomy and physiology. And I don't even know that I read it.
Do you know what? When you just said it, just reminded me, when you said you didn't feel like you knew enough, and I still don't feel like I know enough. And I've probably done more courses than most people, and I get to speak to industry experts on a daily, weekly basis and ask questions that maybe others don't get to. But I still want to keep pushing that boundary of I need to know more, because products change. Like we've just said, you know, 20 years ago, we didn't have builder gels and we didn't have coloured gel polish. Products change, techniques evolve, you know, everything changes in our industry all the time. We're constantly learning. I know that, you know, when you work with a brand, you know, they might bring new products to the market and they tell you that you can do X, Y, and Z with it. But then in a year's time, because you're constantly learning, and, you know, as nail techs, we like to push products and what we can do with them, you're evolving those techniques. And actually, if you use this brush instead of this brush, you can do this with it. You know, like, you don't learn that unless you keep going on training. You know, you're not going to have updated skills. I remember in Nail Tech Awareness about 2 years ago, I think it was in lockdown, we had a tech that posted in Nail Tech Awareness. I'll never forget it. I don't know her name. Thank goodness, actually. She'll probably be grateful. I can't remember her name. But she posted and said, oh, I've been a nail tech 20 years. I know everything there is. I don't need to do any more training. And I was gobsmacked, because I thought, well, I've been a nail tech 20 years and I'm still learning. I'm still evolving my knowledge and my expertise and my skill set and everything, you know, for what I want to learn. And there's so much more than what I know and what I want to know. But for somebody to sit there and say that they don't need to learn anything, like, there isn't an industry in this world where any one person can say, well, I know everything, I don't need to know anything else.
No,
It's
and it does, and it changes. Everything changes all the time. And I think, you know, even, I mean, I've always sort of prided myself on the fact that I've got into the geeky side and done a bit of science, and I understand the chemicals and, you know, and about the different polymerization methods and all that kind of stuff. And I have a reasonable understanding. I'm by no means a science expert, but I have an understanding.
Neither am I.
No, that I can explain to my
not.
clients in layman's terms what's happening to their nails, and if they get any kind of heat reaction, why they're getting that exothermic reaction, but we all need to have that knowledge, and in some way or another we need to grasp what is happening on the inside of our products as they're curing and as they are then having an impact on that nail plate. And I think, you know, we can, I mean, you and I will bang on forever about taking more education, because there is never ever enough education, and especially
there's never
where we're at
you want
now
to stop,
yeah,
or need to stop.
Yeah, you know, I did a bad course initially, but realized very soon after that there was this thing called the NVQ, and I wanted to work towards that, and I did eventually, and I've got my 2 and my 3, and I was very proud when I got them, because it underpinned everything that I needed to know. You know, what we're seeing on the internet overnight and through yesterday is a fear of what they've now learned, and what they're now potentially going to do to their customers and their clients. And I think for clients, anyone that's got gel polish on their nails that saw the news yesterday, there's going to be you know, like you're having clients that are contacting you to say, oh my goodness me, there's this, there's that, what do I do? How, you know, I'm basically, they're fearful. So we need to make sure that consumers and the clients understand that if you have a professionally qualified technician professional sitting opposite you at a nail desk, and they are using a system where every label is the same, and they have a lamp that matches, and they can evidence to you that lamp matches.
So it should be about clients not being afraid to ask questions, because I think sometimes people are quite happy just to sit there with their hands in front of somebody, let them do whatever they want and make an assumption. Like, ask them questions. You know, you and I are passionate about what we do, and there are so many of us that are passionate and care and further our education and our knowledge within the industry, that we're happy for people to ask us questions. We actually get quite excited when people go, you know, where's your product manufactured, or what training, or because like we want to share that. We've learned it, and the minute we leave our training courses, unless we're talking to another professional, we don't get to use all the terminology and the science and share our knowledge. You know, one of my clients, hopefully she's going to listen to this, she's on my Facebook, and she always called me more than a nail tech. She was like, you're like a sciencey science nail tech, because I always explained to my clients why I was doing something, why I used the products I did. You know, for me, it wasn't just about, you know, throw something on and hope for the best. It was always about keeping the integrity of the nail plate intact, you know, making sure that everything was healthy and as clean as possible, you know, like most of us passionate nail techs do. So for clients, ask your nail tech. You know, if they're worth their weight in gold, they're going to be happy to share their knowledge with you and their skill set. And you know, most nail techs do care about what they're doing, and they want you to care as well, you know, as a client. And that relationship and that bond that you form, because you spend an hour or 2 hours or whatever it is every 3 or 4 weeks together, you get to know each other. You should feel comfortable in asking those questions. I think that's a really important thing, to ask your nail tech questions and let her share her knowledge.
But since gel polish has arrived, there has been the opportunity to enter the industry with less formal qualification and with less education being given to you. And it isn't your fault, because you don't know what you don't know, that classic phrase.
And do you know what, I'm going to jump on that, what you don't know, because education in our industry varies across the board.
Absolutely.
You know, we know what you're taught from an independent training academy to what you're taught in a college are completely different.
Totally.
I'm not sure the reasons behind that, you know, but there are so many people that I speak to, so many nail techs that want to become an educator, you know, and it's difficult because some people shouldn't become an educator, you know, and I don't mean that as being hurtful or nasty to anybody, but sometimes you don't have the knowledge to be able to pass it on to somebody else. it's one thing knowing something yourself, it's another being able to pass that skill or knowledge onto someone else. They're two completely different things. And I think the amount of people, nail techs and clients that I've had contact me, nail techs in particular, that are going on training courses and they're like, but I wasn't taught that, I wasn't, and they're quite simple, basic knowledge and techniques. You know, I explained to you, I had a tech contact me recently. She went to an educator who completely mixed her system and her lamp. And that's what she's teaching. I get so many texts message me in nail tech awareness that say, I went to college and my college told me that I could use any lamp and it would cure any product, you know. And you just think, if that's what's being taught from the ground up, what hope do we have in the industry? Because if we don't start as we mean to go on, then the knowledge isn't there. What people are using, they think they're doing the right thing in their businesses because they don't know any different. They don't know what they don't know, like you said.
No, this is it. And I think as well, you know, I know that I've had conversations in the last few months with an industry friend who was just literally ripping her hair out because there's the NOS have been, like, the National Occupational Standards for nails have been rewritten. I was part of that process, and we were very, very determined that things were going to be improved on the NOS because they're so outdated. Gel polish wasn't part of that, of the whole NOS that was there. And so we've been very prescriptive over what needs to be in there. And one of those things is match lamps and match systems, and it's in there. However, because of the way that like the further education system works, City and Guilds, VTCT, and I know definitely those two, they still haven't changed their systems, and they haven't adopted the new NOS. And so they're still teaching on the old NOS. And it's like, no, come on. Like, we spent months and months preparing this stuff and working with like National Occupational Standards and HABIA to get this updated so that it's accurate. So, you know, and that in itself, you know, if you actually go to the National Occupational Standards website, you can download the now NOS. And in that will tell you a huge amount about what you don't know that you need to know, because in there is all of the information about how you should be operating.
The problem is, though, people don't know where to look for that information, or even that they need to look for that information in the first place. You know, you know, I love this industry to the core of my being. You know, I've said it before, I sleep, eat, breathe, everything in between nails. You know, it is my job now, it's my life. But other people it's not, and they don't want to keep learning and to keep finding out this information. You know, I've always been somebody that wants to search everything out, which is why when these allergic reactions started happening, I created Nail Tech Awareness. I've constantly kept searching, you know, ingredients and speaking to experts and pushing people and trying to go. The reason I started Nail Tech Awareness was, like I said before, one, for people to come together, two, to make the industry aware that these problems were happening so they could make informed choices about what they were using on their clients, because if you don't know, you don't know. And obviously a brand's not going to tell you that they've got a problem with their products. You know, that's a death for that brand to even say those words. However, if we all worked, it is a reality, and I wish that the brands would all work together, that we could all find a solution and end this problem, because it should never have got as far as it has. Brands should take their own responsibility for their own products and want to bring the best of the best to the industry and to the market. You know, we trust, the same as you go to a doctor, you put your trust in and faith in your doctor, your dentist, whoever you go and see. Our clients put their faith in us, and we put our faith in brands. That's just the way of the world. But if you can't put your faith in a brand, then what do? Do you not be a nail tech anymore? Because that's what people are thinking. You know, I think clients might be panicking for one thing, but nail techs are panicking. They're wondering about what they're using, where it's coming from. You know, there's so much information out there. People are jumping on buzzwords. They're changing, you know, what they're doing. They're losing money. You know, I've been there. I've been through it all. I know it's a scary process to go through. I'm hoping the positives that come from this situation is that we all become better nail techs, more informed nail techs, that clients become more informed, that they don't just walk into any old place, you know, and have some sort of nails put on them, that they understand what's being put on them. they're making the same as we make an informed choice about what we're buying for our salon, that clients make an informed choice about what's put on their body, you know, because that's not happening at the moment.
I think as well, for clients to understand that, you know, I think clients understand that if they're going to have a set of acrylics put on, they understand that they're having an enhancement placed on their nail plate that is going to improve the appearance, improve the length, or, you know, it's going to add something to their nail. But I think clients don't understand that when they're having gel polish put on, it isn't nail lacquer. It is an enhancement in the same way that acrylic is an enhancement, but it just gives you a different result. And that is still, it is a UV coating that is being applied to your nail. And that UV coating should be applied by a professional. And even, and to a degree, anyone that's been on a proper nail course, not one that takes an hour online, because that is not the way to be educated, but anyone that's been to a formal qualification of some kind, that they have got a proper certificate, that they've attended a course and they have done anatomy and physiology and manicure as a base, and they have done gel polish. That's the key, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Is if you're going to ask your nail tech what qualifications you've got and you're having gel polish done, you want to see that they have done manicure and that they have an understanding of anatomy and physiology of the hand and the lower arm, and that they have got a gel polish qualification. That's what a client should be looking for, and preferably insurance that covers them, and that they are operating with the manufacturer's instructions, which would indicate a matched system of prep products, and base and color and top coats, and a lamp that matches that system. That's what a client needs to be looking for, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
100%. And also, you know, you want to look at the cleanliness of a place, and you know, that should be, you know, the basics that anybody should be looking for anyway, shouldn't it? You know, we have to look at how we're sanitizing tools. You know, have you seen your nail tech wash her hands, sterilize her tools?
Is she wearing gloves?
You know, there's so many things to take in, and I think the one thing I want people to take from this is I don't want people to be scared to have their nails done.
No.
Having your nails done is, you know, it used to be a luxury, now it's a necessity. Everybody wants the nails done. You know, I've had my nails done for, I think it's 33 years at this point, that I've been having my nails done. I used to bite them. That's how I got into the industry, because I was having them done and I wanted to be able to have nice natural nails of my own. And the only way I could do that was to learn and train. And then that's why I always have concentrated on the natural nail and keeping the integrity of it. But I think I just don't want people to panic. I want you to still enjoy having your nails done. You know, we've got so many passionate nail techs out there, so many amazing nail techs, whether they're an educator or not an educator, whether they just do gel polish, they do enhancements, whatever they do across the board, we have got some amazing people in the industry. You know, you can see that in nail tech awareness when we're having conversations. So many people are helping each other. You know, people that have come into the industry, we're helping them, guiding them, going, actually, the training you've had is probably not quite enough for what you're doing. How about trying this? You know, we're giving hints and tips. We're all coming together. 37,000 of us coming together, helping each other is an amazing thing. You know, something positive has to come from this situation, you know, and it's just, I think that we start all questioning, you know, for us as nail techs for the last 4 years since Nail Tech Awareness, we're questioning our brands, we're questioning the ingredients that are in the bottles, we're questioning, you know, are the information that we're giving in SDS sheets and the actual labels on the bottles, are they legal, are they correct, do they match what's inside the bottle, what testing process has that product come to before it came to market, is everything as safe as it possibly could be? So it's nail techs need to be asking questions, which we have been, and now it's time for clients to be asking questions, because you and I both know, you know, what happened yesterday in the press. As nail techs, we knew it was coming. You know, Nail Tech Awareness, 37, I think we were at 37,600 nail techs across 100 countries. We knew it was coming at some point in the press, but clients didn't. So it was probably a bit of a shock for them, but it's a good thing. Use it as that you learn a bit more about the products and the chemicals that are being put on your body. You're learning a bit more about your nail tech and the qualifications that she has. and that you're making sure that all of that matches, and that you're going to the safest place you possibly can. That's all we can do at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And I think as well, you know, there was some of the information that was given yesterday was about, you know, for people to be aware of where their products are, what the origin of their products is. And, you know, we all know, I mean, we both have worked and partnered with brands that are US based. And the US is where, you know, all nail systems originated from, first of all. And that, you know, that's where nails began, over in LA. And that's where it all started, wasn't it? And so historically, the biggest brands have come out of America. They have spent millions over the years in research and development. And, you know, they've always been like the market leaders because they were the originators of the nail industry. And over the years, the EU has also followed, and there's been manufacturers in the EU and more recently in the UK. And of course, then we have like has become like the elephant in the room, particularly in the last 24 hours, is products that come from other places around the world as well, that may not be subject to the rigorous testing procedures that some of the other countries uphold. And I think that, you know, we do need to look at, and we, you know, and this isn't in any way trying to pick on any particular country, but we have to recognize that some of the products coming out of other countries that maybe not UK, EU or USA, some of those products are part of what the problem has been. So as a consumer, just check, you know, and that's not to say, you know, that every UK, EU and USA brand is not going to give you a problem. If you're going to have an allergy to anything, then you're going to have, you know, if there's a potential for that to happen.
I think what we've seen,
it's just a really difficult, it's a really difficult conversation to have.
It is. And like you said, it is kind of the elephant in the room, and we have to be careful what we say. I mean, I suppose what we're really saying is the problems we've been seeing and the rise of allergies within the industry have been coming from a specific place that aren't in UK, America or Europe. We're not saying that all products that come from that place are bad. You know, I've always said, if you're going to buy a product that comes from that place, then outside of the countries that we've mentioned, then make sure it's been independently tested, you know, because I've had brands contact me who don't know, they can't read their own SDS sheets, for one, you know, because it's so easy to become a brand now. You know, I can order some products tomorrow and next week start my own label. You know, it's that easy, because you have to buy much smaller quantities of a product than you used to 10 and 20 years ago. You know, it's just too easy, isn't it?
And this is called, and also, but for consumers, this process of basically going to a factory, and it doesn't, and you can, you know, you can do this with any factory around the world. It doesn't have to be in a particular country, but anywhere that manufactures nail products, you can go to them. And a huge number of these factories will sell you what's referred to as white label products. And this happens across skincare, it happens across nail products, it happens across candles, it happens across huge numbers of things, t-shirts, whatever. And it's called white labeling. And it just means that these factories have a product that they want to sell, and they'll put your label over their white label, is effectively.
And so what happens is, for example, if I'm not a scientist, you know, I've looked into the science behind products that I use, or that I want to use, or that I work with, but I'm not a scientist. So I can't fully test those products myself. So if I go and buy a white label, like you say, product from whichever country I buy it from and start my own brand, I'm trusting the manufacturer of what they've told me is in that product. And that's the difference between buying or working with products that are manufactured in their own laboratories, in-house, with their own chemists. They can fully trust what's inside the bottle because they've made it from scratch. They've designed it, created it, bottled it, labeled it, and all, you know, so they understand it as a company and tested it thoroughly, you know. Whereas, you know, other companies might not have gone through that testing process, because what they've done is gone and bought it and taken the word of the manufacturer who they bought the products from, of what's in it. You know, that's a whole other problem within the industry, because if you're not a chemist, where do you go to then have it independently tested? Who do you trust? You know, it's a whole ricochet of events. there's so many things going on in our industry. I'm still going to say I love this industry. I'm always going to have my nails done. I trust the products I use now. There are many brands on the market that I do trust, and you know, that are safe, that I know have gone through a rigorous testing, that, you know, the brands that care. There are so many of them, like anything in the world. It's just that, like, we need to take away that scare factor, because I think from yesterday there's a lot of scared people sitting at home, and I don't want that for anybody.
No, and it is, and I think, you know, we, like you're saying, you know, we've always known, and I think especially since the people started having reactions those few years ago, those of us that are quite invested in the industry and have been working across the wider industry have known this is coming. We've all known, and I think, you know, it's not like we've been hiding it. We've all been talking about it quite a lot. And we've been trying to share the knowledge, but there's a lot of disbelief and a lot of defensiveness of, well, I'm using this product and I know it's fine, but you've got to be able to evidence to yourself more than anybody else before you evidence it to your clients. You've got to be able to sit happily knowing that you have got the best product for you, and that you understand. So it is asking your brand provider and your brand supplier, are they tested? Where did their products come from? You know, where do they come from? Are they tested? Can they prove that they're tested? And can they please explain their SDS sheet to you? And if your brand supplier can't do that, then you have maybe a decision to be looking at making. And if they don't sell a lamp with their gels, you need to be considering whether or not.
It's a difficult position for nail techs to be in right now, because we've got so many scared nail techs that are wondering, should they rebrand, should they retrain, should they leave the industry, should they stop being a nail tech? You know, in the last 24 hours so much has been said, you know, and I never wanted to cause scare and panic. That's not the reason I got involved with the BBC story, was because I wanted to help narrate this, you know, control the way the story went. I don't feel like it fully came out as it should, which is obviously what we're talking today, to make sure that we get some more information out there, that people can understand the situation and the gravity of the situation. If you're using a product that you knowingly that you're using on your clients, that you know has had problems and has got problems, and let's face it, the allergic reactions, it's not something you can prevent. It's not in the sense of, if you're using these certain brands that we've seen the rise in allergies happening, because it happens from one appointment to the next. It's an overnight thing. It's not something you can see that, oh, they look a bit dodgy this time, you know, like I'll keep an eye on them. It's not like that. It literally happens, bam, and your client's got an allergic reaction.
We were discussing, weren't we, before we started recording, you know, that with the clients that you'd had, and I had a client in my salon that reacted, and it was, and I did her nails every fortnight for years, and she had a reaction. We understood later that there was an uncured gel problem, that as we soaked her off, that uncured gel then leached onto her soft tissues, and that's where her problem came from. And we could pinpoint it down to something very, very specific. But it was very, because I hadn't seen it and I didn't see anything. And then all of a sudden she had, all of like the sort of eczema-like rashes around her soft tissues. And she had really severe onycholosis and hyperkeratosis as well. And it was like, when did that happen? I saw you 2 weeks ago. And I didn't know. I think she had like a tiny bit of onycholosis.
This is the thing, though. Anyone can become allergic to anything at any time. We're not saying that there's perfect products in the industry, because that would be impossible. You know, it's like somebody can suddenly become allergic to, I don't know, nuts or whatever. Like, you just become allergic.
My sister's very severely allergic. She's a latex allergic person to an anaphylactic level. And she has allergy to certain to no white top coats, and my daughter also has an allergy to no white top coats. But we were
because you can become allergic to anything at any time. You know, we're not sitting here saying, what we're saying is, in the last 4 years, that what we're currently seeing in the nail industry, and this is professional use products, this is not home kits, this is professional use products, we've seen a rise of a ridiculous rate of allergic reactions that is damaging people's businesses, damaging people's, obviously, clients' health, and the health implications for the rest of their life. People are losing their businesses. You know, some people can't afford to rebrand overnight.
No.
It's, you know, it takes us thousands and thousands of pounds to start a nail business, and people can't afford to do that. So they're having to leave the industry and go off and do something else. Nail techs that have had nasal problems, eye problems, skin problems, they're having to leave the industry. They're being told by medical experts to leave the industry. So, you know, that can happen at any time with anything.
Yeah.
It's just that what we've seen in the last few years is something very different, because the scale that we're seeing it is unprecedented in the nail industry.
And it does come from a particular, and it comes from like high levels of certain chemicals in the product as well, doesn't it? And I think as well, like one of the things we were saying is that, you know, acrylates are a huge group, a massive group of chemicals, and it isn't just a chemical that can cause this. There's multiple chemicals that can cause this, and trying to lay the blame at any one chemical's door is not the answer. And it is about safe practice, safe application, hygiene, cleanliness, good education, and about understanding what it is that is going on to the nail. And if you are a home user, I mean, obviously there's another whole thing with the home use products.
Yeah.
But for clients of professional nail techs that are concerned, you just need to like ask the questions and make sure that you educate yourself a little bit as well. You know, if you have a good nail tech sat in front of you, they'll be able to educate you.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, if it was as easy as telling people to avoid one single ingredient, I'd have been doing that 3 or 4 years ago, 2 years ago. You know, there's not been a single person I've spoke to in the industry that has said to me, the reason this is happening is because, and one thing. It's a whole combination of things that are happening.
Yeah.
And what we do know is there are certain products within the industry that seem to have more allergic reactions than any other products. And once people have stopped using those products and they've rebranded to a different company, they've then not had a single reaction again, which is, for me, that says something in itself. If you're using one brand and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reactions, I mean, we've had nail techs have 13 reactions, you know, with clients that have then gone to use another product from a different brand and they've not had a single reaction again. And there is some correlation there.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, one thing I want to point out for any consumers, and even for nail techs as well, that are watching this, is that the understanding of what hypoallergenic means. Because I think there's a real big misconception that hypoallergenic means that it is non-allergic. And it doesn't mean it's non-allergic. It just means that it is less likely to cause an allergy.
Yeah.
And so switching to everything to hypoallergenic it is not a safeguard that gives you a 100% get out of jail free card. It doesn't do that. It just means that it's less likely to cause sensitivity and allergy. If something is non-allergic, then, you know, then. And
for me, it's even the fact that it's maybe going to cause less sensitivity at the moment, because as we all know, everything changes. And if you're removing chemicals from a product because you believe it's highly allergenic, you're then putting in a different chemical that probably hasn't been tested for decades, like the chemicals you're removing. So in 10 or 20 years time, are we going to have the same problems again? You don't know. And it's, you know, it's difficult.
It is. And my client who was allergic to or had created or had this allergy arrive in her life, we then moved her to 2 brands that are hypoallergenic, and she still reacted to both of them. And because that gateway's been opened, and this is the problem, isn't it, with some of the products that have been out there, they've opened a gateway, and once that gateway is open, then multiple other acrylates can continue to cause an allergic reaction or a sensitivity reaction. And I think, you know, just understanding how that works, and maybe it's time, you know, get the nail lacquer out.
And anybody that's had an allergic reaction should be referred to a medical professional, and they should be referred from that medical professional for further testing to understand the ingredients that they've reacted to, so that they can avoid those ingredients, because like we've said before, it might be an ingredient that's also in plasters. So it may be, you know, that you can't have your nails done with that product, but you also can't wear plasters.
Yeah.
It's, you know, there are so many different implications. I'm going to keep saying, I just don't want people to panic and stop having their nails done. We've got so many techs in this industry who are working seriously hard, you know, and this is their livelihood. And I don't want people suddenly thinking, right, I'm just going to keep cancelling my appointments. I'm going to tell all my friends and family to cancel their appointments. That's not the way to go. It's about educating yourself about where you're going, what you're having put on your body, and also for the nail techs to educate themselves as well. That's the only thing that we can do moving forward.
Yeah, gel polish has become like our go-to service, hasn't it?
Yeah,
you know, nearly every nail salon, every beauty salon, their nail desks will be filled every day with people having gel polish.
Yeah.
Whereas previously they were filled with people having acrylics, or UV gel extensions, or fiberglass extensions, or good old manicure. And those things are all still there, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and I know myself as a professional nail person, using the right techniques, manicure with a nail lacquer, I used to get my clients come back into me at 2 weeks with their nail lacquer still there, you know, and it's possible. And, you know, so if you have been affected, it doesn't mean that you can't still have your nails done. You know, PR for the nail industry, we do an awful lot more than gel polish.
Yeah. And I think that's where we said education comes into its own, because we do have so many products on the market. We've got polygel, we've got full cover extensions.
Yeah.
You know, we've got acrylic, hard gel, fiberglass. Like you said, there were so many. It's not just builder gel and it's not just gel polish, although they are the go-to at the moment. You know, maybe that's the trend of the moment. Years ago, it was everyone wanted acrylics with like
Pink
a French manicure on them. Yeah, you know, that was what everybody wanted.
Or
more people want color now, they want more nail art. Trends change all the time. And I keep going back to saying this, it's about custom prescribing a gel manicure. It's not, like we've said, not one lamp cures all. There's not one product that suits everybody. Some people just need a gel manicure with just the base color top coat, or maybe even an extra color layer in there for extra strength. It's not that everybody needs a builder gel. We need to manage everybody's expectations about what they need. We need to ask questions to clients, and clients should be forthcoming with, oh, you know, I work with horses at the weekend. My day job is I'm a PA, but at the weekend, you know, I've got horses and that's what I'm doing. Because those two different things, you would need a different overlay application on you, for example. You know, if you're just sitting in an office all day, maybe a gel polish would just, you know, be the best thing for you to have. But if you're working with horses at the weekend, then yes, maybe you need a builder gel, or you need a hard gel overlay, or an acrylic overlay. So many options for you to have. And this is where I'm going to keep coming back to it. Education is going to be key. You need to be educating yourself as a nail tech that you're using the correct system on the correct nail type for the correct person. You know, there's just so much more to this industry than just a gel polish. You know, like you said, we do have normal manicures as well. People can just have those and just look after their own natural nails and the strength and grow those. They may need a builder gel. They may need just a layer of builder gel. They may not need an apex built in there and have these thick clumpy nails that I see on social media.
Tell me about
it. You know, there's lots of it. It's being applied in a way that it doesn't necessarily have to be applied. If you need that kind of extra strength, then maybe you do need an acrylic overlay. You know, because you need that rock hardness in your nail coating. It is just about educating and everybody learning. Hopefully we're going to move forward, and nail techs are going to be educating themselves. They're going to be furthering their education and knowledge. Clients are going to be furthering what they know about nails, and what, you know, maybe they suddenly realize they don't need a builder gel. They could just have, you know, a normal manicure. Stop pushing your nail appointment to 5 weeks, you know, because if you are having an apex built in there at 5 weeks, your apex is going to be in the wrong place. You're going to have problems. You're causing your own problems.
And also, like, another little education point, because this does drive me mad. This, like, oh, look, my client's been wearing their polish for like 8 weeks. The longer that polish is on your client's nails, the more it adheres to their nails, because it will continue curing, like, because it's out in sunlight and it continues. You know, this is a whole thing, like Doug Schoon has has spoken about, and it will continue to adhere. And the more you extend that, the life of that gel, which is, you know, it's amazing, these products can adhere for 3 weeks, 4 weeks and 5 weeks, whatever. It's fantastic, but they weren't designed to do that. And they need to be dealt with and maintained, removed and reapplied, whatever way you're working. That process should happen regularly. It shouldn't be extended to like huge periods of time, because then when you do want to remove it, you are more likely to cause damage to the natural nail. And I think that, you know, we seem to be on like another misconception that, you know, you're doing a better job if that client can only come to you once every 5 weeks. That isn't, that's not what it's about, really.
And from a client's perspective, if your nail professional is telling you to come every 2 to 4 weeks, there's a reason they're telling you. It's not because they want to earn more money from you. You know, if they thought that you could go 5 or 6 weeks with a product and they could get other clients in, then they would do that. It's because it shouldn't be on the nail plate for that long. You know, it's gel polish when it came about, you know, we were talking about a 2-week manicure, weren't we? And then to get 3 weeks from it, we were absolutely amazed as nail techs and as clients. But when people are pushing it to 4, 5, 6 weeks, it's just way too long, you know, and it's not what it, like you said, it's not what it was designed for.
No, and there is a definite reason why it needs to come off. And I think, you know, as a professional, you know, we know if someone comes to us and they've got, you know, 2 mils of growth at the bottom of their gel polish, we know that soak off process is going to take us probably at least another 5 to 8 minutes minimum, because it just adheres to the nail too much. And so clients, you know, I completely get that we're in a cost of living crisis and that money's tighter than ever, but, you know, you have to respect what it is that your nail tech is telling you. And if they're saying to you 2 to 3 weeks and that's it, you know, there is a reason behind it. You know, part of what we need to do as professionals is to make sure our clients' nails are kept safe, and that 2 to 3 week maintenance is why we do that.
100%. It's a complex industry.
Very complex.
It's definitely a complex, and like I said before, we make it look too easy, and too many people try and maybe come into the industry without enough knowledge and education. And if we can help change that, if we can be the change, we can create a change. And you know, it's hopefully we will get some positivity from this story.
Is there anything else you want to add, Suzanne?
The things to look out for. So I'm going to do it. I was going to say, I'm going to do it separately. First, the things to look out for as a professional. Ask questions to your brand. They should be happy to supply you and legally supply you with the SDS sheets. You know, and they should say SDS and not MSDS. You want to have that you're using a system correctly. So you're using it as a whole. You're using base coat, builders, colours and top coats together with the matching lamp. It's not one lamp suits all. There's just no such thing. And anyone that's told you that, they definitely haven't seen the science behind it. Definitely educate yourselves more. Talk to your brands, build up a relationship with your brands so that, you know, you feel confident and happy asking questions, and you feel confident and happy with the answers that you're given. Ask them about their testing process. Ask them about how long it took them to create that product. You know, you want to know more. You want to be able to share that information and be proud to share that information. Make sure that when you're applying the products, you're not applying them too thick. Clients are putting their hands in at the correct placement in the lamp, because if they're putting them in too far to the back of the lamp, then the lights, you know, you have to see where the lights are inside the lamp to see where the hand needs to sit. There's normally the lamp that I use with the brand that I use, we have finger marks inside the lamp that shows where your finger should go. So if I'm going any further than that into the lamp, my product isn't curing. And like we said before, we don't want product that hasn't been cured properly sitting on the nail plate, because that is going to leach out and lead to allergic reactions. We also want to make sure that we're using the correct solutions with the products. You know, one thing that we haven't mentioned so far is that even when you're using a no white top coat, there is still an inhibition layer left on the top of that product. So you do want to be wiping it off, and carefully wiping it off as well, so that you're not pushing it onto the skin of your client's nails. Let's go into clients, what you should be asking your nail tech for. You know, feel happy to ask them about their insurance, about their qualifications. You know, if they're putting an extension on you, are they qualified to extend that natural nail, or are they only qualified to just do a gel polish? Then you know your limitations as to what you can have with that nail tech, which is not a problem. I don't mean it as in a limitation that you should go somewhere else, that you should just be doing what that nail tech is qualified for. Ask them where their products are manufactured. The manufactured will always be on the bottle if the ingredients list and labeling is correct and legal. Ask them if they've had training with those products. Are they again using the system as a whole? Again, base color top, base builder color top, all with the same brand label on, matching the lamp. The lamp is key. You know, we can't go and buy a lamp off of Amazon, for example, that's going to cure all of our products. It just doesn't work. If you go into a salon and there's like 20 different brands of color polishes, how are they curing all of those 20 different, I always had 4 lamps within my salon to make sure that I was curing each properly, using the lamp recommended by the manufacturer. But if there's 20 different bottles of color brands and there's not 20 lamps, then how are they being cured properly? It's little things like that to educate yourselves and just understand what's being put on your nails. And don't be scared to ask questions. If you've got somebody that loves what she does, she's going to be happy to answer those questions. She's actually going to be in her element to answer those questions, because we would, and we're not the only ones.
I used to get in trouble when I had my salon. I used to sit, like my cousin, she used to sit next to me and she'd just be like, oh, here she goes, just like, here comes science. Just be like, because I just sit, because the thing, I think if you know it and you understand it and you're passionate about educating, you just want to share that information.
And that's the thing, it's about the passion.
Yeah. And for clients, I think, you will know if you've got someone that has got the knowledge, they should be sharing it with you. They should want to tell you. And they should also, and if you are going to a salon and they don't ask you to sanitize your hands or wash your hands, because obviously not every professional has access to water. Professionals should be wearing gloves. This is part of the standards that we are supposed to operate by as well. So they should be making you wash your hands or sanitize your hands. They should be wearing gloves themselves. And also at the end, they should be asking you to wash your hands again, just to remove any gel residue that could be left after the service. And that's really, really important.
Absolutely. And as a professional, when you're wearing gloves, you're protecting yourself from getting any, while you're working on a client, from getting any gel on your skin, because we don't want gel on the skin. That's not what it was made for. It was made to go on the nail plate. So working cleanly, methodically. We may come into this industry thinking it's easy for a lot of us, because like I said before, it's easy to just look at someone and think, oh, they just paint nails. That's got to be, what a great job is that? They get to chat all day and they get to paint nails. But to get to that point, to make it to look easy, the process that most of us have to go through is unbelievable. And, it would scare most people, I think. Yeah, I think it would scare most people to think, like you said, when we have to know about, the fingers, the hands, the arms, the science behind the products, the chemistry, the constant learning, the constant updating techniques, being able to purchase as many colors as we can, and all the nail art, and learning all of the nail art, and what goes on with those. Like, it's not easy.
And we're not considered part of the STEM community, are we? Like, there's the whole sort of science technology, engineering, there's this whole big thing about STEM careers, and we have to understand science and technology so much. And especially as nail technicians, as beauty professionals, there's an element of it as well, obviously, in its full body anatomy and physiology in that. But as a nail tech, the chemistry behind what we have to learn is immense, and thinking that anyone can pick that up and run with it is
and I was told when I left school that I shouldn't go and train in beauty because I had a brain in my head. So I was forced into business. I say forced, I was pushed into business and finance. And when I look now and think, I'm traveling the world, literally, I've been Dominican Republic, Belgium, London, all over the place in the last year. I'm traveling the world because of nails, because of the nail industry, because of my love for it. So, and the science that I keep learning, I'm still learning it. I'm sometimes you forget the terminology, or you because you're not talking about some of those things on a daily or weekly basis, it's very easy to forget, which is why we keep saying, you know, the constant learning. But the training that I've been on recently, it just blows your mind, because you're just pushing yourself all the time, and I like to be that sponge that's I want to be the best that I possibly can be. And if I'm giving anyone information, I want to make sure that information is correct.
Yeah.
And I can't tell someone if it's correct if I haven't learned it properly.
No, absolutely. Well, hopefully we have dispelled some of the fear that has been perhaps generated over the last 24 hours. And it is, and remember everybody, if you're watching this, you know, whatever comments are sitting on any social media platforms, make sure that whoever's behind the comments understands what it is they're talking about, because if they don't, you know, you don't necessarily have to pay it any heed. And if you are concerned or you are worried, then go to the NTA group, to Nail Tech Awareness. Also go to the Federation of Nail Professionals. You know, like Federation was created because of these kinds of situations, and that's why all of us that co-founded it did that, because we knew that this kind of thing was going to be coming, and that the whole point of the feds is to be there to support you through these processes. So go and make contact with them and go and join, you know. It's like,
I was just going to say, reach out. Anybody that's sitting at home and they've got questions, just reach out to somebody. You know, we've just said the Federation of Nail Professionals. I've got Nail Tech Awareness, which is for professional nail techs only, or nail techs in training. They have to prove that they're in training. And then we have started another group that is Nail Tech Awareness for clients, purely for clients who don't feel supported by their nail tech, or are struggling with information or where to go next if they have had a reaction. They've got a place that they can go and ask those questions. But yeah, do your own research. You know, don't listen to what anyone else is saying. You know, you need to believe something for yourself and do your own research, because that's exactly what we do on a daily basis.
Absolutely. Anyway, so we'll leave it there, and I'll hit the stop button. And thank you so much for coming on, Suzanne. And I really, really hope that it has helped people. As always, it's like, we do like a yak. Don't word one of us. I like a yak.
Yeah, I'm good at that too.
Anyway, so we'll stop now.
Me where I am.
Yeah. And thanks ever so much for coming on. Hi, and I'm now joined by Dodger the dog. He was just pining at the door trying to come in when I was finishing with Suzanne. I really hope that you found that useful, and I just wanted to just add a couple of bits as well, because I know there was something we were going to try and cover and we missed it, which is about regulation. Regulation is going to be something that's very, very difficult to get for this industry, and is going to be a way off yet. But you do need to realise that anyone watching, that there is already regulation in this industry, and it comes courtesy of the Health and Safety Executive, and all of their guidance and their requirements for us as nail professionals is regulation enough. And so we should be able to regulate ourselves as a result of reading HSE guidelines. So go and check your COSHH. This is really, really vital to what you are doing, because COSHH is the control even of substances hazardous to health. And that is what all of our nail products come under. And there is a whole way that you need to work and store to make sure these products are dealt with in a safe and effective way. And I would just add that Sam Blake, who is a Safer Salon geek, is also putting something together, and I'm going to put links into what she's doing at the bottom of these as the show notes as well, and that will be on there, because I know Sam is putting together a program all around incorporating COSHH into your nail business or your beauty business or your hair business, whatever it is. I mean, it really is a kind of salon industry wide project that she has, but I know that she's going to be doing something around this, because she's also, like Suzanne and myself and like so many other professionals in the industry that have a voice, we're all quite concerned for how if the impact that this news has had on our industry and on our clients. And we just want to make sure that everybody has the best method of making sure that they're protecting themselves and their clients going forward. So do make sure that you understand what your health and safety requirements are, because all of that surrounds your product storage, your product usage, and how you work as a professional is already there. So just make sure that you pick that information up. I think other than that, I think Suzanne and I probably covered just about everything that we needed to cover, but do make sure that you listen to reliable and trustworthy sources in anything that relates to your products and to your ways of working. This is the only way to protect you and to protect your clients going forward. And clients, do make sure, if you are watching this, that you do ask your professionals. We are here to be asked and to provide you with that information. And one of the other things as well that just is coming to mind is that we talked a lot about SDS sheets. And if you aren't aware what an SDS sheet is, it's a safety data sheet. And they used to be called MSDS, or material safety data sheets, but this changed several years ago. And if you still have anything in your systems that says MSDS, it is out of date, and you need to make sure that you have updated. And you will be able to get your SDS sheets from your brand supplier, and they will hopefully have no problem in providing that for you. If they do have a problem providing that for you, you need to be asking questions as to why that's the case. Anyway, enough serious stuff, and I'm now going to go off and finish doing the edits on this episode and start loading up. So this will be available hopefully from Saturday evening, and I will see you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to Inspiring Salon Professionals. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe, leave a review and share with fellow industry professionals that you think may enjoy the show. Links and further information can be found on the show notes or on my website www.suedavies.org. Here you can also find some downloadable free guides that you may find of use. You can also hear from me and join the Inspiring Salon Professionals community on my Facebook group. Thanks again, and see you next time. Bye for now.